All right. Hope everyone can hear me. To start the next part of the program, we will say 3 times sadhu once again. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay. What we are going to do now is to support the practice, right? Blessed One has recommended whoever who is walking on his path will have to support with 5 things. The 5 things with which we will have to support the practice is you will have to support it with morality, you will have to support that with listening, support that with discussion, support that with tranquility, support that with the insight. So tranquility and insight we have done to the best of our ability in the last 1.5 hours or so. And also morality, we have recollected the usual morality guidelines that we usually follow during our normal day-to-day lives. And this time is therefore allocated to listening and discussion. And the reason why we have a session for listening and discussion is, and the reason why the Blessed One has recommended this, because probably in the practice there will have experiences when you observe your walking and sitting that you cannot fathom, that you cannot comprehend. So to clear those things, you will have to have a discussion or you will have to listen to a talk. And also you will have new knowledge. You may have to require some confirmation of what is going on. And for that, you may have to have a talk or listen to a talk or discuss. And also there may have some strong viewpoints with which you start the practice. And those viewpoints may get challenged by the practice. So to explain those things, you may have to have this supportive factor. So for the listening, or in other words, for the sermon, what we have agreed upon is to discuss a sutta that directly talks about a pathway to Nibbana, right? So when I received the topic, the first thing that came to my mind was the Blessed One has very clearly answered this question. He has said there is only one and only way to accomplish Nibbana. There are 4 other things he has mentioned. And that one and only way is the 4 foundations of mindfulness. So therefore we have agreed upon to discuss 4 foundations of mindfulness discourse, or 4 foundations of mindfulness sutta. So in last few sessions, we have discussed the basics. In other words, the historical background and the conditions upon which this has been presented by the Blessed One. So if I just take a bit of history or summary of what we have already discussed, Blessed One has gone to a place called Kammasa Dhamma, where the people have been practicing many methods of mindfulness, right? So to that group, Blessed One has gone and said, and you guys are doing all these practices, but there is only one way, which is 4 foundations of mindfulness, and you do that. And if you do that, There are 5 advantages. The 5 advantages are you will be able to reduce your stress, pressure, or whatever the mental agony that you may have, and you may be able to go beyond the day-to-day knowledge that you have in your professions. And also, of course, you will be able to achieve, accomplish the ultimate happiness. So, to do that, the Blessed One says the one and only way, he has mentioned, he has signposted what the 4 foundations are. The 4 foundations are: you have got to be mindful on the body, you've got to be mindful on the sensations, or in other words, feelings. You will have to be mindful of your mind, and you will have to be mindful of the natural phenomena that is taking place within our existence. Right? So those are the 4 foundations on which you can be mindful. And the Blessed One says for all these 4, you can't just do it. It should be done in a qualitative manner. And he has given specifically 3 main qualities with which you have got to do. And the 3 main qualities are: you will have to do it with a lot of energy to eradicate your defilements. You call it atapi in Pali, which means you will have to exert energy to eradicate defilements. And we have discussed that in detail, and it's a big range. Sometimes you may have to have a real sweating, determined energy. In other instances, it may be very subtle. That exertion of energy may be even you should not feel. So it's a big range so far as the energy is concerned. And the other qualitative factor that the Blessed One has mentioned is it should be clear comprehension led or guided by mindfulness. So in other words, when you become more and more mindful, it should have snowballing effect, and you should be able to take your mind more and more into the body. As a result, you start seeing things that you have not seen in the past. That we call it clear comprehension. And there's a separate section on that. We will discuss that today. We will discuss that in the next session. And the other qualitative factor that the Blessed One has mentioned is when you do these things, you will have to discipline yourself. How you discipline yourself? You will discipline in this world where there is covetousness, which is the strong greed, and the hatred. So people there will have a strong greed and hatred in the world. In that world, you become a good person. So that is what he says. When you become more and more mindful on these 4 foundations, you will gain these qualities, or you will have to do it in such a way that these qualities are included in the practice. And last time, in the last session, we have taken the first one that the Blessed One has described, to be mindful on the body. He said the first foundation of mindfulness is being mindful of the body. To be mindful of the body, Blessed One has given 14 methods, 14 techniques. Of those 14 techniques, the first one is being mindful of your breathing, right? So we have discussed in the last session how you start being mindful of the breathing. Initially, you won't be able to be mindful of breathing, but you will be challenged by a lot of thoughts. You will be challenged by sounds. You will be challenged by aches and pains. With all those things, you just keep on practicing, keep on enduring yourself to bring your attention to the body. As a result, you will be able to settle down in the body, and you will start seeing your in-breath and out-breath. And from that point onwards, how the observation of in-breath and out-breath takes your mind into the body. So when you see your in-breath, when you see your out breath, and you start seeing the qualities of the in breath and out breath. For example, from which nose your breathing is happening, from which nose your breathing out is happening, when you breathe in, whether it is warm or cold, or if you're observing the tummy, what happens to the tummy over a period of time, what happens to your breathing, and lots of things you start seeing. So uh, when you are able to observe more information of your breath, means your mind is more with yourself. When your mind is more with yourself, more with your life, your breath is life, and your mind is with your life. So when that happens, you don't have to worry about other things that are happening, or you don't have to worry about seeing things from your eyes, hear things from your ears, smell things from your nose, or taste things from your tongue, or any of the other bodily faculties will not be working. They all are locked down and shut down, right? So therefore, you have a lot of conserved energy. And because of that conservation of energy, and the mind is with you, you start seeing through air, you start seeing more and more of your body. You start taking your mind, using the breath as your vehicle to go into the body. So when you keep on practicing for some time, you may start feeling your body more than usual, right? So, and it will develop into a level where you will be able to feel your whole body. And when you feel your whole body, you will not get shocked or scared and get up and walk out somewhere. You get more and more settled down in what you see, and you keep still observing. Now there is no in breath, there is no out breath, but you feel the whole body. You start observing the whole body. That is what the Blessed One says. And when you keep starting the whole body without any shock, or without any suspicion, without any fear, you become even more settled. You start conserving more and more energy, because both the engine and the vehicle is very much together and functioning very smoothly, and your observation will go, or your alertness or your awareness will go into a level where you won't be able to observe any in-breath or out-breath taking place. But only thing you know is you are very alert. You are aware of what is going on, but you don't feel in-breath and out-breath. So in that manner, your breathing process uh, evolves, and we have discussed that for about 45 minutes in the last session. So this is the summary of what we have discussed in the previous session. So today, what we have got to discuss is, being the second one the Blessed One has recommended. The second one Blessed One has recommended is, the first one was breathing, second one is the postures, right? So if you have it, I will get Chatuputa to read that section, and then we can start discussing about it. You're on camera.
I'll read the part. I think this is it. Should I go from the start or from that section?
From that section only.
In this way, he abides contemplating the body as body internally, or he abides contemplating the.
Oh, one after that, I think.
Again, because when walking, a bhikkhu understands I'm.
Yeah.
Okay. Again, because when walking, a bhikkhu understands I am walking. When standing, he understands I am standing. When sitting, he understands I am sitting. When lying down, he understands I am lying down, or he understands accordingly, however his body is disposed.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. So that is the section, and that is how the Blessed One has um, given us the framework to of framework to be mindful of the postures, right? So the as you know, there are only 4 cardinal postures: walking, standing, sitting, and lying down. And in addition to that, there are postures in between. Maybe you may be leaning onto something. Sometimes, some people sit keeping the legs up, and some people, when they go and talk, they will lean onto the table and then talk. So there will be different postures other than these 4 cardinal postures. So whatever the way that your body is disposed of, you are aware. So I'm going to take the first one, which is given here, which we are doing as well, the walking. Okay, before coming on to walking, I would like to point out one important thing in this section. This is why the Blessed One mentioned at the very beginning of introducing mindfulness. He says, keeping the mindfulness to the fore, taking the body as the focal point. So the significance of that is, from the breathing exercise, or from uh, being mindful of the respiration, he is taking the depth of mindfulness. He is going into the very deep layers of being mindful, right? But when we actually live in the society, when we carry on with our day-to-day activities, we can't sit cross-legged. We can't keep our hands on our lap and keep our eyes closed. So it is not practical. So therefore, the Blessed One makes it very practical. To make it practical, only he said at the very beginning, keeping the mindfulness to the fore. When you keep the mindfulness to the fore, no matter what happens. And he is taking that here. He says, when you are walking, be aware that you are walking. When you are sitting, be aware that you are sitting. When you are lying down, be aware that you are lying down. When you are standing, be aware that you are lying down. We will see how we can do those things. But before that, I want to first talk about walking. So when we know the walking guidelines, walking instructions, we know. But I will just go through that. When we start mindful walking, what it is not just the normal walking that we do. We are trying to gather as much information as possible. In other words, bring our mind to the walking process. We have been walking ever since we have took our first step. But we never thought that this walking can be used to achieve high levels or improve our mind, right? Every time we have been walking, thinking about other things, right? We have been walking to achieve something. But in this walking, we don't try to achieve anything. We simply walk for the sake of walking, right? And when we do that, what we simply try to do is gather information. What do you mean gather information? In walking, what happens, there is only just one thing that is happening in walking. You balance your body weight. You balance your body weight on one leg all the time in walking. So when you do that, there are lots and lots of information that are happening. When you lift the leg, the other leg is taking is getting ready to take the control of the body weight. And when you actually have lifted, when it is in the air, the other leg which is not walking, or which is on which we are standing, has completely taken the body weight, right? And then when it is lowering down, the standing leg is slowly passing the body weight to the leg that is lowering down. And when you keep it, it's getting ready to take the body weight, and then other leg is starting to move. So this is why when people keep on observing one leg, and some people start seeing this and they say, when I am trying to focus or take my attention onto one leg, I can't take the attention to one leg because the other leg is also doing something. Because of that manipulation of the body weight on the two legs, or the balancing of the body weight on the two legs is happening. So it's giving lots and lots of information. And it is not just that, and with that you can see how the sensations change. With that you can see what sort of vibrations are happening when you place the leg on the floor. When you press it down, um, the leg is sending signals to the entire body, right? So there are people who feel the entire body when you press the leg down. So those things you will be able to see only when you gradually improve the walking process. So the gradual improvement of walking process, how it happens is, initially once we have selected a path, we just walk on that path up and down, without focusing on anything, right? Just for the sake of walking. And then we start focusing on our legs, focusing on the right foot and the left foot, right foot and left foot. So if we are able to observe our right foot and left foot, then what we do is we divide the right foot or the walking process into two, and try to observe things that we can observe when we lift and then when you place it down. So you observe the lifting very closely and observe the lowering down of the leg very closely. And if we are able to maintain our mindfulness on the lifting and lowering down closely, and if we are happy that what happens when you lift and what happens when you lower down, then you divide that, add one more to that process, which is lifting, moving, and lowering down. So like that, you get more and more sections or more and more sub activities involved in the walking process, and bring your attention more into the body. And when you do that, what the Blessed One says is, there is a discourse called Chankamani Sutta. In that, the Blessed One is saying, when you keep on walking in this manner, there are 5 advantages. The 5 advantages are, the first one, you will be able to walk for very long distances without being tired, right? It's a preparation for a long walk. And the longest walk that anyone would have in our existence is the walking on the path of Dhamma. That is the longest walk that anyone would have, right? So therefore, for that journey, this walking mindfulness is very important. And the second point that the Blessed One has given is, it energizes you. And this is a very important point. How it energizes you is, physically, those who know about reflexology, I haven't read, but I have heard that there are points in your leg, in the sole, massaging of which will affect the certain organs that we have in our body. There are each part of our leg, on the sole rather, if when they get massaged, those organs get more and more energized. Those organs are being massaged as well at the same time. So therefore, that is why we try to walk on barefooted as much as possible without wearing any footwear. So that is how you get energized uh, physically. And there is a mental energy part as well. That mental energy is all this time we have been walking to go to the bus or to go to the toilet or to go to the office. There has been some object to achieve in our walking. But uh, this walking that we are doing here is doing for the sake of walking. We are not trying to achieve anything, right? So to walk without achieving anything is a big challenge, huge challenge. So if you can do it for 5 minutes, that's a big challenge to the way we have been living. And if you do it for 10 minutes, even better. Doing it for 20 minutes to a half an hour, 45 minutes is a huge mental energy that we are generating. When I say mental energy, it is the challenge to the way we have been living. The way we have been living is as seeing things as much as possible, hearing things as much as possible, and tasting things and having as much comfortable tactile sensations as possible. We have challenged all that. We just walk for the sake of walking from one point to the other, one point to the other. So this is why at the very beginning we say, when you do your walking practice, don't take the evening walk as the as an alternative for your walking practice, because evening walk is having an objective. So we get rid of all the objectives. Just take one point and walk from that point to the other point and up and down. And when you do that, there is a physical energy on one hand, on the other hand, there is a mental energy as well. And the third thing that the Blessed One has mentioned is it helps your digestion, right? So that is possibly coming from reflexology. And when you walk, your digestion is faster. And the fourth one the Blessed One has given is it helps in reducing the other ailments that you have. So people usually say, when you are sick, just walk as much as possible, have a brisk walk, then you will not be in one position or in one place. It becomes some sort of an exercise. Therefore, other ailments will be reduced or minimized. And the last point that the Blessed One has given, the concentration that you gain from mindful walking lasts for long, long, long time. It's unlike the concentration that you receive in that you can gain in mindful sitting. In mindful sitting, you get a very good concentration, but we gain that concentration with a lot of controlled factors in a controlled environment. But the concentration, if you get anything in the mindful walking, it is a semi-controlled environment, right? We keep our eyes open, and we go to open air in an open place. We do it, so therefore less controls. Therefore, in that less controlled environment, if you get some concentration, it is long lasting, right? So that is the fifth point that the Blessed One has given as an advantage of mindful walking. So that is the first thing that the Blessed One has mentioned when you talk about postures, and that is why we are using that as well. And the other thing that the Blessed One has mentioned is standing. When you are standing, you can be mindful. And how you become mindful when you are standing is in any of these postures. um, Being mindful, or how you become mindful, depends on the contact points, depends on how you differentiate the posture, right? Standing is different to sitting, because when you are standing, your legs are touching the mother earth, and not the bottom is touching or having the contact points. And when you are lying down, your contact points neither the bottom nor the sole of the foot, but the entire body, right? And in walking, the contact point is just one leg and the movement, right? So therefore, the distinct identification of what with what you have the contact is the understanding that the Blessed One is mentioning here, is the mindfulness that you can have. So therefore, when you take the standing posture, and when you are standing, say for example, you are waiting for someone to come and pick you, or you are waiting for a bus. When you wait for a bus or a train, what you do is we keep on looking around, and if the train or the bus is late, we keep uh, mentally getting annoyed and agonized about it. So instead, what we can do is we can bring our attention to the sole of the foot. When we are standing, you can feel the sole of the foot. So when you feel the sole of the foot, your mind is now with that particular posture. And if you start feeling the sole of the foot, then you will feel the sensation, whether you will feel some sort of a sensation, either coldness or the heat, or if you're wearing footwear, there will have additional sensation. So you start feeling those things. And when you start feeling those things, and when you bring your mind to those things, and based on that, you may start feeling more and more, more and more of your body, right? So when your concentration or when your attention comes that way to that contact point, and it can get deeper, as we have discussed in mindful breathing. In mindful breathing, you start first seeing breathing in and breathing out, but it gradually develops into taking your mind into the entire body. So similarly, by paying the attention to the sole of the foot, and your mind will gradually start observing the whole body, you may start feeling the whole body. Similarly, lying down, when you lie down, you may bring your attention to the contact points of your body, to the mattress or to your bed. And this is something that most of the people do when they sleep. They just lie down and bring their attention to the sleeping posture. As soon as they do, and in the discussion, especially in our Sinhala group, a lot of people have started observing the whole body. Because when you go to bed, it's a time that you are so tired, have done so many things during the day, and your entire body is now looking for a rest, asking for a rest, craving for rest, and entire body is ready to take a rest. And when that in that scenario, in that situation, when you bring your attention to the body, you you may observe things that you have not observed in the past. So in other words, you may start feeling the whole body, depending on what you have done during the day. And the last one is sitting down. Sitting down, normally when we do our breathing practice, we sit down and observe. But the sitting down that we are talking here is not just the breathing exercise, or the paying attention to the breath, but observing the contact point. So it depends on the way you sit. If you are sitting just on the floor on a cushion, then you can see the contact points of your lower part, the knees, legs, and the buttocks, etc., and bring the attention to them, and then keep on observing whatever that you feel on those contact points. And if you are sitting on a chair, then the contact points are different. Your bottom is on the chair, bottom rest, and the legs may be on the floor. So then you will have to observe those things to be with your body. So in that manner, you bring your attention to the sitting posture. And once again, before I conclude, I want to remind you why we do this is because to take the width of mindfulness. Otherwise, we will be just, if we think mindfulness is only sitting and observing the breath, then it has no practical value. Now, to give a practical value, to make it a way of living, to ensure that the mindfulness is not just dropped when you get up from the sitting and go, Blessed One is taking it forward and introducing into the life by taking initially to the postures. So, with that, I will be concluding the talk of being how to become mindful on the postures. So, now I would like to go to the next part, which is the discussion. You can ask any question on the talk, or you can tell any experience about your practice or any questions relating to the practice or the talk. You can take a few minutes for that.
Well, there's something I've been wanting to ask for a while. I think the way my brain works is I like to see things visually. I like to picture things. And I have found with practice, often when I'm trying to observe something, I'm naturally creating a picture in my head. So say I'm observing breathing. In my head, I'm picturing the rise and fall of the body, but that's not what's actually happening because I can't see it, my eyes are closed. Same with like walking. I'm looking ahead, I'm not looking at my feet, but when I try and be mindful of my feet, I start picturing what my feet are doing. So it's trying to be mindful, but it's not reality. It's not actually what's happening, if you know what I mean. So just wanted to know your thoughts. Yeah, and it's not an intentional thing. It's just something that's happening as a way of my body trying to be mindful.
Good. Don't know whether those who are in Zoom heard the question. Did you all hear the question? Sarat, Gaini?
Maybe you can repeat a little bit.
All right. Okay. The question is, he is observing a situation where he's picturing the things rather than actually observing. The example he gave was when he apparently is observing the tummy when he's doing the sitting practice. The mind is picturing, the brain is picturing the rise and fall of the tummy. And while walking, the brain is picturing the movement of the legs. Yeah. So that is what he has observed, and he's asking my thoughts on that. So it's a good question to start with. And also, that is how we build the tunnel from the body to the mind. Right now, what we have been doing is we have been observing our body. Now, you start seeing what the mind does as well. We did not intentionally look at our mind. We observe the body, right? But when you keep on observing the body from behind, or when we don't give what our body is usually asking, the upward pressure on the from the bottom of the iceberg is coming up, because the tip of the iceberg is then now melting, which is tip of the iceberg is we live on in our normal life, right? See as much things as possible and hear as much things as possible. We don't do anything of that. We just try to observe our walking. We try to observe our respiration. Initially, we were able to do that. We were able to observe the walking. We were able to observe the breathing because it was happening, right? When it is happening, you did not cling on to them as well. You did not somehow or other try to have your attention completely on the walking and hold on to it. Just did it for the sake of doing. You observe the breath for the sake of observing. So since you were not grabbing it and holding on to it, even that gradually fades away. When it fades away, now the mind is not having it. You don't take it. Mind is having an image of it. That is the perception. We understand everything from the perception. We don't have the picture now, but the negative is there. Now you start seeing the negative, right? So, and the nice part is when you were saying that, you said, I don't do it intentionally. It means you don't do it intentionally. You have started seeing what the mind is doing. Mind has already taken a snapshot of walking, snapshot of tummy rising and falling, and you see that, right? So when you see that, and since you have not done anything, you did not mention, you have not been panic about it, you have not got confused with it, you just ask my thoughts on it. So that's the way that you have opened one side of the mind, right? And it happens and you are aware of it. Simple as that, right? So it's a way forward when that happens. Don't try to bring the mind back to walking. Don't try to bring the mind back to breathing, or in other words, don't try to make it gross, right? If when you see that you are seeing the picture, that you are seeing the negative, just become aware of it, right? So when you become aware of it, even that will fade away, and the upward pressure from the rest of the iceberg will come up. So let it come up like that. Good. Thank you. No worries. Yeah, Gain, you can go ahead. You're on mute, I think.
Merits for the session today. It was so good. I'm so glad I joined. Do you hear me all right?
Breaking up, but you can go ahead.
Okay, sorry about that. So I just started. Much merits for the session today. It was so good.
Thank you.
Walking meditation. During the walking meditation, I kept my focus on the feet, the sole of the feet, so I could sense the tile. It's the cold ness in the tile and all that. But so I mean, today it's a busy day for me. I mean, I did just like the way you mentioned, the negatives kind of played in my mind. But what I felt was like in between a one step and the other, a thought kind of trying to sneak in, and also it brings that, you know, that story kind of come in. But the essence of the story is it's all subjective, meaning like it's kind of centered around a person. So I don't know how to explain it, but it's today I felt that, oh, hang on 1 second, these are not, these thoughts are not bothering someone else. It's very subjective in a way, but it's not difficult to switch back into the food, because what I told myself was, okay, no point thinking about it. It's gone. What am I supposed to do now? Let me walk. Started focusing on the soul. That's just an observation. In meditation for the whole thing, it was really good. Can I continue with another thing? I'm trying to get used to this whole timetable thing, but I haven't still got to that level, which I'm not practicing on a regular basis, on the same day, same time. But when I go to work, like to focus, like I have to deliberately pay attention to the work and build that conceptual mind bubble and visualize and live it. And then the time that I meditate and go there, sometimes I know I'm going to enter into that bubble, and inside me, I like to stay in the meditation bubble, if you know what I mean, like that whole the whole serene kind of feel. I love it, like I really like it. And I have a bit of a thing that I have to tell, like I'm telling a little child, hey, go to school and work, kind of like that. I have to say, okay, it's just 9 to 5, just do this, and then the mind will, I have to do that. Sometimes I'm kind of um, I'm kind of in a way that I'm playful, that sometimes I'm like, oh, I don't want to think about work, and I would want to stay in that zone that I earned. But I'm not always like that. There are times I go, my mind is wandering around um, on various things, on the past, on the future. That it's just normal. Like I'm not always on serene mode. That's just experience.
Right. Okay. It says your bandwidth is a bit low, it seems. Anyway, talking about mindful walking, what you mentioned was basically you are being disturbed by the thoughts, and although it was disturbed by thoughts, you are able to guide your mind to the walking process. So that ability is very important. But before talking any further, I will have to ask, when the mind wanders away for whatever things, whether it's subjective or otherwise, do you get annoyed or agitated?
No, I didn't get agitated.
Get
It was
agitated.
like a no, I'm not. I did not get agitated.
Right. Okay. So that is the most important thing. We will have to say whether we get agitated with it. If we are agitated, then it is showing signs of craving towards walking and hatred towards the wandering mind. So instead, what you are doing is you are using your labeling technique to say, I am aware that the mind is wandering away, and you are able to direct your mind to whatever you are doing in the walking process and observe that. That is a skill. That is an advancement of mindfulness, and that is a way forward. Although there are disturbances, you are not disturbed by the disturbance, and you don't disturb the disturbance as well. So that's a very important sign. That's very good. And that is complemented by the second statement, where you feel that you go into a meditation bubble, even when you do your day-to-day work, especially the office work. And meditation bubble, what I understand is that you go into sort of serene environment or peaceful mental state. Am I right?
Yes.
Yeah. So
Yes.
yeah, this happens. This happens not only while working. This may happen in anything where you are now trying to bring your attention, or when you try to concentrate. When you try to concentrate on anything, this may happen. It is especially when you work, because of our mindfulness practice, our mind naturally goes to work. When it naturally goes to work, when it gets one pointed, and we have developed the skill of bringing the mind to the body, and because of that one pointedness, and mind gets absorbed into the body. And when it gets absorbed into the body, you are in that so-called meditation body, or in that serene or peaceful state, right? So when you are in that state, then you will be confused, you will be puzzled whether I continue with this state or whether I break it and go to work, right? So it's usually when that happens, there is no hard and fast rule. If you can be in that for a few minutes, doesn't matter, just be in that, and nobody is punishing, and you can take even that opportunity to improve your mindfulness. But if you want to continue with your work, and if it is if you feel that it is stopping work, then what has to be done is, when you work, you start working, labeling the work that you do, right? So one thing I have done is, when I start working, we can't label the things that we do, because it is so many things changing so fast. So the only thing what I do is, always I'm telling my mind, working, working, working. If I come to the bubble, I label working. So that what it simply does is, it does not allow the mind to get too concentrated into the body, because being too concentrated onto the body, we can't live. That is why the Blessed One introduced this posture mindfulness. You can't be sitting and having the depth of mindfulness in the body. You sit like a dead man, doesn't make any sense. It's not a way of life. So it has to be a way of life. So if it has to be a way of life, your mind has to be either with the body posture, or with the intention in which you are trying to do. So in this case, when you're working, it's not a posture, it's a mind objective. So you concentrate on the objective, not the object in this case. It is the objective which is working. So you say working, 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 and keep working. So you're out of that deep bubble. It's basically what happens is, we are going into an absorption. Being absorbed is not the objective of mindfulness. Objective of mindfulness is being aware of what we are doing. So having an absorption is a good thing. It shows that we are improving, right? But trying to be in that may be a bit of a disturbance to the normal way of life and to mindfulness itself. So, and you said you like to be in that. When you feel that you like to be in that, be aware that you are liking it, right? So knowing that you are liking it is also a way out of it. Does it make sense?
Yes. Yes. I think the other place that it happens is driving.
Yeah, yeah.
I have to tune myself. I have to tune my. I have to keep saying I'm driving. Focus on the road. Otherwise, it come to my body.
Yeah, yes. Driving, it happens drive so much. You've got to be very careful while driving. And yeah, you have to keep on saying driving, driving, driving. And if you are stopped at a signal light, red, 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 and when it turns green, 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 accelerate, accelerate, accelerate. Just don't let absorption or the serenity take over you. So break it a bit,
Okay. Yeah.
so that when it does not take over you, what happens is you bring the balance of the serenity as well, balance of the tranquility as well. Here, tranquility is a bit too much, but it's a good sign. It's a good sign. What our mind does is, if it has something that is juicy, that is tasty, that is delicious, it tries to grab it as quickly as possible and as much as possible. So that is what the mind is doing. In a way, it is good, but now from that 10, we'll have to bring it to the middle. To bring it to the middle, you break it by labeling with what we are doing.
Okay.
Thiruvan
Much
Saranai.
better. Thiruvan Saranai.
Thiruvan Saranai. Any other questions from here? Do you have anything, Sarah? Yeah, there's a question here.
When you do mindfulness in daily day, you've been doing it for a while. Can you find that your so like you have like your zero, your morality? Can you find that that is increasing or affecting your day-to-day sort of life?
Okay, let me see whether I understood the question. What you're saying is, when you are mindful in your day-to-day activities in daily life, whether the morality is increasing. Is that the question? Yes. That's again a very good question. This is how you can see whether you initially, one way you can see whether you are really gaining mindfulness. One way is gaining your tranquility, gaining your serenity is one way. And the more practical way is, now you feel you still do your unwanted things. You may be taking a beer once in a while. You may be doing something nasty once in a while. But still, when you are doing that, someone from behind is reminding you, this is not something that should be done. And if that reminder is coming within yourself, then means you are turning slowly into your moral side. You are trying to perfect your moral, right? So you start reducing unvirtuous things, right? You take steps to avoid those circumstances, right? So it is definitely bringing your moral fear and moral shame forward, right? And as a result, you start controlling your faculties, controlling your sense faculties. So, which is controlling your words and controlling your physical actions, which is morality. And Blessed One has very clearly mentioned that someone who is mindful will be moral, will be morally, will be will feel moral shame and moral fear. And someone who is feeling moral shame and moral fear will control his or her sense faculty. One who is controlling his sense faculties will be virtuous. So it's a very difficult question.
That's a rough question.
Yeah.
I'll give like an example. So like for me, I have like levels of morality. So like there's things where like I will take stationery from work.
Yeah.
I have no problem doing that. But lately I've found like, because I deal with salesmen or dealers a lot, they're very grumpy people in general. In the past, I've let them do things that they want to do. But now I don't. Like I said, no, you can't do that. Okay. And it's a case of like I'm training myself all the time to do nothing. But then there's also like this, I've got this objective that I'll do something, I have my level of acceptable and not acceptable. And if the not acceptable level is high, I'll do something. So how do you balance your like primary objective to do nothing all the time versus your moral objective?
Yes. Hope I will repeat the question again. It's a balancing between mindfulness means not doing anything, balancing between not doing anything and doing something when moral objectives are challenged. Is that right? Yeah. And in the question or from the example that you gave, it is not your morality in the first place. If someone else is doing something dodgy, your morality has not been affected, right? So therefore, it's not a question of your morality, but now since it is within your purview, right, you have got to take an action, right? So what we learn is, let anything happen, we don't do anything, right? But in this case, you have a moral obligation to carry out your duties. If you don't carry out your duties, then that moral obligation is not met. So therefore, when the point or the tolerable level is exceeded, you saying him that it is not acceptable is you being moral. On one hand, you are true to yourself, you are true to your job that you are doing, and on the other hand, you are showing him the right path. Right? So therefore, not doing, you don't do it with the objective of achieving anything. You do it with the objective of carrying out your duties. Right? But still, one may argue we still can keep quiet. Right? We can keep quiet, but what happens is you will not have any defense when you are questioned. And keeping quiet is the best thing to be done. Having given my first answer, keeping quiet is the best thing to be done. But when that happens, you should be ready to give up and go. We can't live like that. So we have got to have a balance. Right? So therefore, we should not, okay, we say mindfulness is not doing anything. So therefore, I don't do anything. We don't become like a vegetable. Right? It is not for your gain. It is for the benefit of everybody. So therefore, we have when we have got to do something, we have got to do, but not to gain something for me, not to gain something for anybody, but just for the benefit of everyone. Right, there are Sarvai. Sarath, you have unmuted. You want to say anything?
Yes. regarding this question, I would have thought that we have to separate our duties from um, the duty comes first, in a case like this. But it is very difficult to balance the performance of duty with being aloof. It is difficult. Sometimes it might appear to us that the Dhamma says just let it go. But I think generally according to the Dhamma, duty comes first because we have an obligation to society.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
it's just my view.
Yeah, no, that's right. Because what we will have to do is we will have to see the intentions.
Yes, right.
If our intentions are not corrupted, if our intentions are not vicious, if it is for the general well-being of the society, from on one hand your company, on the other hand the employee, and then looking after yourself. If these three things are balanced and for the benefit of everybody, then we should not just let go, we have to take an action. Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, sorry. In connection with the earlier question of discipline, how it works in a circle, at the start, in the last lecture, I think you mentioned that one of the three factors that have to be promoted in Satipatthana in general is discipline. And so if you are practicing Satipatthana, then we have an obligation to discipline ourselves. That's what you mean, I think. But on the other hand, when you practice, when you learn and practice mindfulness, discipline automatically results to some extent at least. So it's a two-way operation.
Yeah.
To practice mindfulness, we have an obligation to be disciplined, but the discipline comes because you are practicing mindfulness.
Yeah, you are 100% right, and that is the way Blessed One has explained as well. There is a discourse called mindfulness discourse. In that discourse, Blessed One is saying, if you are not mindful, what happens? If you are mindful, what happens? So it's a two-way thing.
Yeah.
So you're right, spot on.
Yeah. The other thing is that earlier a lady talked about the mind coming into play. I just thought that it is necessary for us to have some understanding of the difference between mindfulness and concentration. Because mindfulness, of course, will bring concentration, but sometimes we get attracted towards concentration by itself, and that might not be helpful in promoting mindfulness. I don't know.
Yeah, no, statement is right. But the issue we have is when we practice, we don't have a control over those things.
We don't have a
control over those things.
Yeah.
And theoretically, we know that we should have a balance.
Yeah.
But there is an agenda, there is a way that our mind works.
Yeah.
Mind gives up one thing and very tightly hold the other. So that is what the mind is doing in this case. When we get concentrated, mind is holding on to the concentration so tightly.
Yeah.
So when that happens, this is why we have the discussion. In the discussions, those things can be spit out. So when they are put out, then we can gradually open it. When it is opened up, then the strength of that craving, strength of that holding on gradually loses. So therefore it's theoretically right, but practically it has got to be, there is a way how you bring that balance, how you experience that balance.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Anything else, Sarah?
That's about it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. So thank you everyone for participating once again here in my place as well as remotely. To conclude the session, we will share these merits or the positive energies with whoever who has been helping us, especially our teacher Bantu Dhammajiva and whoever who is investing their time in organizing these things, and any living being near or far, human or non-human, may all of the beings share these positive energies merits, and for that purpose we will chant the traditional stanzas. Ittavata chammehi sampadam punya sampadam sabbe devanumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Ittavata chammehi sampadam punya sampadam sabbe bhutanumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Ittavata chammehi sampadam punya sampadam sabbe sattanumodantu Akasatta cha bhummatta devanaga mahittika punyantang anumoditva chiran rakkantu buddha sasana. Akasatta cha bhummatta devanaga mahittika punyantang anumoditva chiran rakkantu buddha desana. Akasatta cha bhummatta devanaga Punyantang anumoditva chiran rakhantu buddha savakam. Idang ho nyati nyang hotu sukita hontu nyati. Idang ho nyati nang hotu. Idang ho nyati nang hotu. Imina punya kammena mami pada samagam. Satan samagamo hotu yavanibbana pattiya. Imina punya kammena mami pada samagam. Satan samagamo hotu yavanibbana pattiya. Imina punya kammena mami pada samagam. Satan samagamo hotu. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Everyone saranai, everybody.
Everyone,
Everyone saranai.
Everyone, Sarnai.
Everyone saranai.